Good morning. Welcome to the panel, What's Up with Social Media in the Philippines. I'd like to bring to the stage Tonyo Cruz, Fleire Castro from Cebu, and Ruben Licera, also from Cebu. My name is Tina, and I'll be your moderator today. I'm from the City University of New York Graduate School of Journalism, and I'm also a scholar-in-residence at the entrepreneurial program at the Town Knight Center. So we're going to begin with Tonyo Cruz. We can bring up his slides. And actually, if we could get the mic stand, I think that'd be great. Do each of you guys have a mic? I think you should each have a mic.
Hello.
I'm going to say, can we, because I'll give you one. Okay, thank you. Can we get one more wireless?
Hello, world. I'm sure you're familiar. Hello, world. We're here. We're very happy to welcome you to Cebu and to the Philippines. We're very privileged to have global voices in the Philippines, and we congratulate you on your 10th anniversary. Here's a quick overview of citizen media in the Philippines. Global Voices comes to the Philippines at a very good time, at a very great time. Actually, 20 years ago, 1994, the Philippines had its first ever internet connection right in this city, right in this very city, in Cebu City. And Filipinos marked it last year with big celebrations in Manila and in other cities nationwide. So we're very happy that you are part of that continuing celebration of our 20 years. After 20 years, this is how Philippines looks like in the digital space. Out of 100 million Filipinos, 44 million, or 44% of our population already have internet access, either through the homes, business, school, or from smartphones. And many things have happened for the past 20 years. And internet use is growing, social media use is growing. We have lots of bloggers all around our 7,107 islands during low tide. And according to surveys, Filipinos are one of the most voracious users of the internet. We spend like 6 hours in a day online, usually. So the bloggers spend more time than 6 hours. So this data comes from We Are Social, digital agency, really fresh data. And we have made so many milestones for the past 20 years. We have lots of blogging communities in Cebu. Cebu hosted the first ever blogging organization to be established in our country. And there are lots of other blogging organizations, for example, in Mindanao, specifically Davao, many parts of the Visayas, and in Luzon. And bloggers have become recognized members of the media for the past 20 years. And there are some bloggers who have graduated from being bloggers to being professionals in business. So they have been recruited as social media managers by so many agencies and big businesses. In 2010, the Philippines was named a social media capital. And just last year, because of Sinulog, a festival in Cebu, and lots of happenings in Manila, the Philippines became the selfie capital of the world. 3 cities out of 10 cities. What else? Bloggers have become journalists, wittingly or unwittingly. So in 2010, in preparation for national elections, a band of bloggers came together to form BlogWatch, a citizen media project, which has continued beyond the elections. And many organizations gravitated towards one vote, yet another election media coverage. Actually, in 2010, we had our own cable TV show on election day. We signed up with a cable channel, and we had blow-by-blow reports of what was happening in the elections. And for the past few years, bloggers and netizens have been able to declare unified hashtags for the Philippines. So thanks to the efforts of grassroots activists, advocates, citizen media users, bloggers, in the Philippines, if there's a typhoon or a calamity, there's Rescue PH, hashtag Rescue PH, or hashtag Relief PH. And everybody uses it, these hashtags. And another milestone for Philippine Digital is the crowdsourced Magna Carta for Philippine Internet Freedom. It's still pending in Congress, but we are hoping that it will be passed real soon. It's our version of the Internet Bill of Rights. And for the past 2 years, we've been relatively successful in fighting the cybercrime law passed by our beloved president, a champion of freedom. And in 2013, thanks to the power of social media, social networking, ordinary citizens began a powerful movement called the Million People March. Thanks to its efforts, the pork barrel of congressmen, the pork barrel system of congressmen were abolished. And it was a big achievement for netizens, people's organizations for the past 2 years. And there are many other milestones. There are many stories to tell. And there are many Filipinos here in this hall raring to tell you their stories. So the first word camp in Southeast Asia was held in the Philippines. Bloggers graduated into, for example, Save Philippine Seas. It's a movement for environment protection. And lots of other achievements. And the community is growing beyond the blogosphere. So there are opportunities for collaboration among developers, social media strategists, and others. And lastly, now leading the charge in citizen media or in digital media are these 3 sectors. The businesses and agencies have gone digital, and they are recruiting bloggers to help them. Legacy media aims to remain relevant, aims to get as much free contributions from the public, from citizen journalists. And then government, they'd like to get huge footprint in digital. So that's it. That's a quick overview, and then welcome to the Philippines.
So as you can see, today I've got 3 very knowledgeable netizens with me from both Cebu. Fleire and Ruben are from Cebu, and Tonyo is from Manila. Now, I probably don't need to tell you that the Philippines is very well known for its active use of social media. Facebook is its most used and loved form of social media, followed by Skype and Google+. It is also known for some very stirring online political and disaster relief campaigns that went viral, caused both online and offline advocacy and change. And each of our panelists worked and in some cases founded those campaigns. We're very excited to have them here today to talk to us about those actions and discuss a bit about the tools and methods they used. I'll also ask them to share their individual visions and for what they see as the next frontier in social media activism and online community building in the Philippines. So please welcome Tonyo Cruz, Fleire Castro, and Ruben Licera. I'm sorry that Nini Cabaero, due to a family emergency, could not be here today, but we are thinking about her and holding her family in our thoughts today. For those of you who are interested in journalism here in the Philippines and its overlap with the digital, I encourage you to speak to Nini, or to seek Nini out on Twitter or LinkedIn. So here's a roadmap for this session. I'm going to introduce each of our panelists. Well, we've already met Tonyo, and after each introduction, we'll hear a little bit from each of them. Context is extremely important for understanding the organic nature of social media here in the Philippines, a place that boasts one of the highest number of hours online in Asia, despite an infrastructure that cannot always support the numbers of people that want to be online. So we've heard from Tonyo, who gave us a little bit of a history and overview, and I'd like to introduce Fleire Castro, who comes to us by way of Iligan, but has been a resident of Cebu for quite a while. Fleire has her own entrepreneurial startup called Third Team Media. She worked in corporate for a number of years before she found a calling in helping brands and businesses find value from these channels for their own communities through social media. So that was just her the start of her love story with social media and digital marketing. Since 2011, she has been involved with digital media activism around natural disaster relief, beginning with One for Iligan, which is a baby of hers, following Typhoon Sendog, which killed over 1,000 people and affected 500,000 more. At that time, she worked with the Google Crisis Response Team on digital humanitarian tools and continued to do so for the earthquake in Cebu and Bohol in 2013, and Typhoon Haiyan later that same year. So Fleire is going to give us a little bit of a snapshot of today, of what is going on today with, in 2014 and 2015, what the numbers look like and the trends from social media in the Philippines.
Thank you so much, Tina. So we put this together very impromptu last night because me and Tina were talking about how or what is the impact of social media and digital generally in the Philippines. And it so happened that We Are Social SG, an agency in Singapore, already released their stats worldwide for digital in 2015. And that's what I'm going to show here today. Tonyo already showed you some of these slides. This is the snapshot of digital in the Philippines. So as of 2015, out of 100 million Filipinos, the internet, there is an internet penetration of 44%, okay? So this is up from last year's statistics, which is 36% only. So we are already within the global average of 42%. Philippines is in 44% internet penetration. The global average is 42%. So we can almost say that the Filipinos are active internet users. Most probably, even normal citizens have access to the internet via their mobile phones and their devices. From last year, what's another interesting thing is that we still, what do you call this? Let's move here. Philippines still wins in the number of hours spent online. So imagine that. Who's second? Yes. So the Philippines' largest consumer of the internet in the Philippines. We spend 6 hours online. Imagine that. The Filipinos probably open their mobile devices in the morning when they wake up, and then at lunch during work hours they access the internet, and also in the afternoon or in the evening once they get home from work we spend another probably 2 hours. So on average it's 6 hours daily internet usage. Now this is very interesting because when we move here and we look at the stat on the average internet connection speed in Mbps, the Philippines is in the bottom 3. We only have 2.5 Mbps on average here in the Philippines. So I'm sure you can feel that, guys, here. Do you have access to your mobile phones? Were you able to upload via Instagram or Facebook? For sure, you have that challenge right now. So you can feel the bottom 3 status of internet speed in the Philippines.
So
But
Fleire, I think it was you that said maybe the reason that
Yeah.
we're the highest number of hours in Asia is spent online.
Yeah,
by
so
the
that was-
Philippines has something to do with the
right, that was
the
quite
speed.
interesting because looking here, we spend 6 hours on the internet, but we're at the bottom, 6 hours on average every day, but we're at the bottom 3 in the internet speed. So maybe the reason why we spend too much hours on the internet is because of our very poor internet speed. So maybe it takes hours for us just to load one video that you so want to watch, you know. So it takes you that long because of our internet speed. So those are one of our challenges here in the Philippines. So welcome, you're witness to that challenge. Okay, so if you would like to ask, what are the top social media sites that Filipinos love to access? From last year, it was, sorry to those who are taking pictures, I'm gonna move it, sorry, here, I don't have the slide, sorry. Last year, the top social media site is Facebook. And this year, obviously, it's still Facebook. But on this study, they already included social chat apps. So you can see that Facebook Messenger is one of the top chat apps that Filipinos use, seconded by Skype and then Viber. Okay? Facebook, Google+, and Twitter will be the top social media sites. Facebook Messenger, Skype, and Viber are the chat apps that Filipinos use. So if you have a contact here from the conference and you want to talk to them or you want to reach them after the summit, perhaps the best ways to contact them would be via Facebook or Skype, right? Okay, so take note of that. Now, this is the current stat of digital in the Philippines, and we can see that every year it has improved. But last year, back in 2011, when we launched the One for Iligan campaign, which is a fundraising campaign by the Iligan Bloggers Society in Mindanao, we didn't have much of these stats growing, you know. So what we accessed was on Facebook. Most of the campaign that we ran for One for Iligan was mainly on Facebook. So this is actually the story.
Fleire, do you
Yes.
want to, because I'm going to come back to that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Do you want to we'll just leave the snapshot
Sure.
there, and
Okay.
then we can come
All
back
right.
to the campaign. And we'll move on to Ruben Licera. This year marks Ruben Licera's 10th year in the blogosphere. By trade, he is a professional public relations and events management specialist. He blogs at inewmedia.org, focusing on business, technology, and social good. He is the founder and community lead of Cebu Blogging Community, an inclusive community of bloggers and new media publishers. He is also the community manager of Google Developers Group Cebu, and he is a social good advocate and organizer. He's here to help us zoom in a bit and tell us about the very specific local environment of Cebu and what this community of bloggers has been advocating for recently, and what their vision is and how they might contribute to the wider scope of Filipino social media.
Mayong buntag Sugbo. Mayong buntag. We're happy to see you here. Welcome to Cebu. I know you're enjoying Cebu as much as I did. And now I'm staying in Cebu for about 14 years already, thanks to the Cebuanos. Now, I've been blogging since 2004, and this is my 10th year. So basically, what I'm trying to drive at now is refer you to some stories, and then later we'll give you a realization of how does the unique blogosphere works in Cebu. The first example is this one. A friend, out of nowhere, contacted me through Facebook and said, hey Ruben, can you please check on this one? And then please like and share to your friends. So this friend, out of nowhere, contacted and shared to me this page. And as a regular user of Facebook, I usually check on the link and then checked on the references, and then I liked and I shared. After several days of promoting it with this friend, this page caught the attention of the local and the national news, to the extent of being featured in almost all of the media outlets, TV, radio, name it. And at the end, forcing this commercial that shows a wrong depiction of history about Lapu-Lapu, our first national hero. And then what happened was this institution pulled out all of its ads, literally costing them millions of pesos in 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. And I would like to especially mention the blogger who started it all. Cabino, please stand. I know you're familiar with this face. Yeah. That's why EQ Diapers love Cabino. So technically, that's how thing goes here. You network with influential bloggers help you with your campaign, and it goes without saying, influential bloggers from Cebu contacts other influential bloggers from the Philippines, 7,107 islands during low tide, and then you got a viral news, a viral story being trended online. The second one is a story we captured last year. This was very interesting news to us because out of nowhere, we saw this picture being shared in social media. Sinulog is one of our, let's call it, the queen of all festivals in the Philippines, perhaps in Asia Pacific and the world. Let's claim that. Now, all of a sudden, this picture was popping up in social media. And when we saw the picture, we saw something irregular about the picture. First, why is there a boo word there? So to check on the information, what we did was we contacted several friends, trying to confirm news, including the person, Chang Yildan. So this social media user, who didn't take the mantle of being a community journalist, just posted the picture, added the word boo. And out of nowhere, a blogger from Cebu used this picture and posted it in his blog, and then made some comments without any references to any fact. So what happened was we checked on the information, tried to reference it with other those who visited the area, and we confirmed that this picture, when this picture was taken, the crowd didn't boo. Second, the lady down in Festival Queen suit was not really a festival queen, because in the Philippines, when we have Sinulo, the whole contingent dances, and the fairest of them all is the festival queen. But this one, the lady is in the float. So technically, she's not a festival queen. But the blogger claimed that she was a festival queen, and she was being insulted by these national celebrities. Which for us, confirming through information, it's a wrong thing. But the good thing with the blog is that it gathered so many traffic for the blogger who first shared this news, claiming and posting it with personal opinion. But when the news from our side came out, and we shared it to around 12 friends, influential bloggers from Cebu, it automatically #1 in the search, competing against his keyword on Boo and the company involved. And at the end, they end up saying their side of the story. The bloggers saying their side of the story. I think one thing nice about the blogging community is that we have a very active and dynamic way of engaging, discussing, to the end that we are able to correct ourselves if we want to. I think the third example, is there any third example? Wala na, no? 2 slides, Rene. Oh, this one. I really love this picture because during Typhoon Haiyan, this picture was shared 2,000 times in just 30 minutes. And when we captured this one, there was a very interesting comment here saying from a Kenneth Breakston, which is technically a fake account. VP Binay tried to enter the restricted area of UN humanitarian relief but was stopped by these US soldiers as no Philippine politicians were allowed to touch the relief goods per instruction from United Nations. The photo was shared from the website. unsay drama mo, Jejomar Binay. So when we captured this, I'm not a Binay fan, but if there are facts like this, it's really interesting to double check, and just for the sake of argument, engagement, try to do something about it and make fun of it. But later I realized that picture was from a U.S. Navy military website. And the correct description of that one was the U.S. Fleet Commodore welcomes the VP President. How did we do it? Very simple. You just upload the picture in Google image search, and there you are. Hundreds of them from the site. And then we started sharing it. And based on this capture, we just made 130 shares, and it captured several news outlets explaining the same picture and then tagging us more or less as reference to the first who corrected it. So you see, in the Philippines, we are very fond of memes, sharing pictures. And one thing that's interesting is that most of us easily shares pictures, information without even reading or double checking info. I think it affects all of the races. They say stupidity and ignorance is a disease crossing all borders. That's why that's one thing that we have realized so far. But just to plug, I'm here to represent the blogging community. It's called Cebu Blogging Community, which we started last year to welcome new bloggers, because we understand the value of bloggers in improving the blogosphere. And currently we are around 212. And the interesting fact is that though we have very outstanding accomplishment in terms of social good, there are around less than 10 out of 212 blogging about social good in Cebu.
So would you consider some of these stories intentioned for social good, or because you were saying that was, we were speaking previously, you were saying that was one of the pushes for the Cebu blogging community to develop more social good stories, or a hunger for that, and
because
a way to feed
this
that
is what
hunger.
we have observed. Most of these influential bloggers just easily share information also without double checking info. What if these influential bloggers starts doubting every news that they receive, every stories that they receive? Would it be nice to have a community with a lot of daughters out there exchanging info? That's what we're trying to drive.
Thank you, Ruben. I think those examples that Ruben just gave us brings me to my first question to the panel, which is, does the Philippines have a blogging code of ethics, a netizens code of ethics, or a community journalism code of ethics? Why or why not? And is that something that is in the works?
Well, it's a sticky issue in the Philippines, specifically in Manila. There have been efforts for bloggers to agree on a very broad outlines of a code of ethics, but the efforts have not been successful. But that doesn't mean that we don't believe in ethics. So it has come to the point that individual bloggers come up with their own disclaimers, disclosures, and attribution policies, interview policies, etc. It has been, we'd like to have one. I think there are many bloggers, especially the younger ones, the new ones, much younger than all of us here, the digital natives who are becoming bloggers. They are looking for some sort of guidelines or tips from the senior statesmen and stateswomen of blogging in the Philippines. And I think we'll find some time in the future to come up with a code of ethics.
Do either of you want to chime in here?
Yeah, this is, I really love this topic, because this is one of the topics that we discussed with the community managers of Cebu Blogging Community before we started it. Chanel and Gay are here. Because one thing that we observed is that when we blog, blogging is really personal. And then, like we discussed last night, who are subject to ethics and creed or something? I think that is a question that only bloggers can answer. And at the same time, if the blogger takes the mantle of a reporter, that's when we can subject him to an ethical standard. But if a blogger is just another social media user, would we want to subject him to a specific code of ethics or standards? That's the question, open question that we're trying to answer before we can move forward and finally meet Tonyo somewhere and have some coffee.
May I add one thing? We have not been successful in coming up with a common code of ethics because of the idea that blogging is personal. While that is true, once we click publish, everything becomes social. And then our responsibility to ourselves and the readers kick in. So I think we need to graduate from that level of just saying blogging is personal, so I'm not accountable to anyone else except myself. So I think the sooner that we realize the social value of blogging and the internet, it would lead us to finding out that, oh, we have some responsibilities, we have some duties to keep the internet free. The first task is to be responsible about the use of that freedom, and the best way to safeguard it is to have a commonly agreed, mutually acceptable, broad, easy to understand code of ethics. The Society of Professional Journalists in the US proposed 4 simple points. Be honest, be fair, be accountable, and minimize harm. So, very simple expression of a code of ethics. I think most bloggers would agree to that broad set of principles.
Just for me as a regular social media user and also a blogger, what Tonyo mentioned that a guideline or some sort of guiding principle would be a good thing. It would be on a nice to have list here in the Philippines and for the netizens. And I think an awareness, once that's set, an awareness campaign about that would be good and helpful for the online Filipino citizens.
Great. So one of the things that I've talked to at least Tonyo about is the fact that there isn't a sort of common physical space or summit such as this one within the Philippines where bloggers come. And it's something that I think maybe some of the panelists agree would be a good thing to have. So maybe we can even say that this panel is going to decide on 2 things. We're going to call for a blogging code of ethics in the Philippines, and 2, maybe some kind of meeting space that can help birth that a bit. Am I overstepping my bounds, or you can chime in?
Facilitate conversation.
A place to facilitate conversation. As I meant to mention before, Tonyo speaks quite a bit internationally, but one of the things he told me yesterday was that he would really love to be able to have more meeting spaces here in the Philippines where that's possible. And of course, this meeting itself is one space where that's possible, but we would like even more bloggers in the Philippines and social media activists in the Philippines to come together yearly, bi-yearly. So I think that's one thing we can say is coming from this panel. Okay, so I would also like to now bring in some of these campaigns that we've seen over the last few years. Can each of you tell us a story about a recent campaign that you are a part of, and in what ways did the community, the blogging and social media community of the Philippines or internationally, surprise you or change your thinking of how citizen media behaves in the Philippines? In what ways did you find existing tools helpful, and in cases where you had to build your own tools or methods, what was that process like? Maybe we want to start with Fleire?
You have the slide clicker.
Oh. If we could get the clicker and then Flaire's slides up, she wants to show a couple more.
Back in 2011, I wasn't actively promoting our services as a social media agency yet. So I was just your regular blogger, regular social media user. And to know that I started blogging back in 2005 when I was in college, and I would say that social media and the internet itself is my first love, kumbaga. So I want to show here one thing that we did. The clicker doesn't seem to work. Can we move the slide, please, to the farthest part? The first one, the other one, yeah, that one. So what happened was that December 16, 2011, I was just browsing my Facebook feed, and I didn't know that a storm was coming to my hometown in Iligan City, which is in Mindanao. I am already in Cebu at that time, of course, in 2011. I was just looking at the feed of my friends. Then I suddenly noticed that most of my Iliganon friends were talking about some casualty already, or their damaged houses, or something like that. And when I noticed this sort of trend from my friends' feed, I did a search and tried to see what was actually happening. So by then, I learned that a storm actually visited our hometown in Iligan City. And the same storm did a lot of damage in a nearby city, which is Cagayan de Oro. When I saw these first photos, what came up to me was that, hey, these people seem to be needing help, because I saw updates that there's no electricity, there's power interruption, and there's no way, or there's limited way for them to communicate what's happening on the ground. So what I did was, I was inspired by a campaign that the Cagayan de Oro bloggers did before, and also by Tonyo and his group, and we came up with the term One for Iligan. Now, since I am the co-founder of the Iligan Blogger Society, I gathered some of our blogger members and told them, hey, why don't we launch this certain campaign? Let's call it One for Iligan. So why One for Iligan? Well, let's put up a form, let's open up a personal PayPal account, let's tell them, how about they donate at least $1 to fund the relief operation of the group of just Iligan Blogger Society. So the team said, yes, that sounds viable. So we launched the campaign and we called it One for Iligan. So we shared this sample photo of the casualty of the place and then we told them, help the victims of Sendong in Iligan, One for Iligan, and then a link to the form with details on how to send in their donations. It says here, Iligan Blogger Society is humbly requesting your generous help for the victims of Bagyong Sendong in Iligan City through the One for Iligan campaign. And this photo immediately became, the word viral. People were sharing the Facebook post. They were telling their friends about what's happening in Iligan City. And it became a starting point for the Iligan Bloggers campaign to be the champion of a unified call for help, or a call to action for people to send in their help to the victims of the disaster. So we just coined the term One for Iligan, and it was really surprising that a lot of Iliganons picked up the phrase. So One for Iligan became, like we said, a call for action, or a unified call for action. Someone created a logo, people changed their profile photos, and we didn't really expect for the campaign to go viral. But it happened, people were picking up the call to action, they were creating mini organizations, which is also called One for Iligan. And then another group created a website called One for Iligan, and it really became viral. It even became too big for us to handle because some people were attributing their donations to our group, even if they sent it to another One for Iligan group. So I think that's one of the challenge that came up when we created the campaign, because people were expecting that the Iligan Bloggers Society is behind the One for Iligan campaign, when in reality, it became something that every Iliganon shared across the globe. So we became known for that campaign, the Iligan Bloggers Society. And of course, having such big responsibility, the group was kind of overwhelmed. It was the first time that we did a fundraising campaign. Donations started pouring in. We raised almost 1 million pesos in donation via PayPal, and this doesn't include all the goods and services that were volunteered and donated to the victims of the calamity. Okay. This is the Iligan Bloggers Society. They were doing the relief operations and the on-ground relief operations for the group. And the funny thing is that I was in Cebu the whole time. I was just coordinating the effort online. So if someone tweets or posts a Facebook message and then ask me, who do I send in this donation? It came from such organization. So I would course them to the society, or I would course them to the correct contact person. And then people would ask, how do we donate? We can only donate via bank or via PayPal or via cash. So I sent them the correct information on how to donate and to contribute to the cause. So like Miss Tina said, it was really surprising that people would respond to such campaign that was done purely online. So I would say this was one of the first social media campaigns revolving around disaster and relief operation. Right now, the Philippines has a unified hashtag already, right? Tonyo, it's HelpPH. So right now, there's already HelpPH. But before that, we didn't have that hashtag before, back in the One for Iligan campaign. So right now, it's already monitored by government agencies. But in our case, it's just a grassroots it's a grassroots campaign created by your humble bloggers who are just concerned for their friends and family in their own hometown in Iligan.
So, Fleire, 2 questions that just came up while you're talking. What does it mean moderated by the government? That hashtag is moderated by the government. Just that they're looking at how it's being used? Or?
I think Tonyo can answer about HelpPH.
Okay.
Well, I think 2 or 3 years ago, there was huge monsoon rains in Manila, and there were huge floods. And there were so many reports on Twitter about what's happening. So it was so difficult for relief organizations and for citizen media users to make sense of what's happening. So we were thinking aloud, what if we put some order in how we post on Twitter? Okay, if you're going to report on relief operations, use hashtag ReliefPH. If you're going to report on FloodsPH. If you need to be rescued or you know somebody who needs to be rescued, use RescuePH. And then we were talking with a ranking official from the presidential palace, talking with him on Twitter, talking with journalists on Twitter. So in a few minutes, we already agreed that we would have this unified hashtags. And the government official promised that the disaster office, yes, we have a disaster office, would monitor the reports being posted online. So that's so they would be able to act, for example, specifically on
appeals for rescue.
And do you have people from the government reaching out to you in terms of understanding what you're doing and maybe trying to help in some ways?
Yes, well, the government tries to be present. The government tries to be social and digital. One way, tries, the keyword is tries. The citizens would always report what's happening. And the government will always tell us, we know, we read your reports. But they don't report to us what they do about the reports. For example, if there were 10,000 tweets about rescues, we need to be rescued, it's no longer acceptable for government to just say, we know, we read the reports. We want our government to say, out of the 1,000 rescue tweets, we're able to rescue 900 people. We're able to respond to this 900 tweets within 45 minutes. So there's no reporting from the government's end. So it's, we are still trying to convince government that going social is not one way. They should be accountable to the people regarding the use of the publicly available data.
I think that's probably a good session topic for for the first summit of Filipino bloggers that we're calling for right here on this panel. Okay, so I would also like to make sure that we have time for Q&A, but I'm going to ask at least one or two more questions to our panel. So we were talking about online access and speeds before, and I think it's important to bring in this question of how would you characterize the digital divide in the Philippines, and how can bloggers and online activists like yourself tackle that issue?
But we still have around 60 million Filipinos waiting for an internet connection. This became obvious with the recent typhoons. We had really huge typhoons in 2014. So when the typhoon came, all of us netizens in the big cities were expecting reports from Eastern Visayas, Marinduque, Masbate, Mindoro. These are far-flung areas. But no reports came. No reports came. Why? Because there's poor or there's no infrastructure there in those areas. So that's one realization. The digital divide is blunting the power of digital for social good. The digital divide, for example, sort of affects this conference. We cannot live tweet as much as we want to. We cannot live stream as quickly as possible. So the situation is much worse in the poorest sections of the Philippines. In the poorest sections of the Philippines, just like Tacloban, the place visited by the Pope, when Haiyan hit Tacloban in Giwan, it took netizens more than 24 hours to get fresh photos. Well, most of the existing infrastructure was destroyed, but in the other areas, information from citizens themselves were slow in coming. So it's a real challenge. We'd like to see more people use social and digital, not just for blogging or for e-commerce or for study. We'd also like them to use social media for disaster relief. And it's not possible if there's no improvement or expansion in infrastructure. We still don't have a digital roadmap for the Philippines, so it's a problem. And there's no, because there's no roadmap, there's no plan in covering 100% of our islands. We cannot yet predict how soon we could bridge the digital divide. Most of the Philippines is an interesting country digitally. Before the internet, the Philippines had one of the lowest telephone densities in the world, meaning we were a country starved of landlines. So that explains why there was an explosion of cell phone use in around 2000. And that's the reason why the Philippines became the texting capital of the world. It partly explains why there's no internet penetration. We're still at 44%. It's already 2015. There's no roadmap, and we'd like to see a roadmap long promised by the government in 2010. It's already 2015. So I think we'll just wait for the next government.
Okay, so I've been told that time is up, but I was wondering if we could have 2 questions from the audience. Is that possible? Is that okay? Okay, Philip. You can come to the mics, which are on the side here. I promised at least a few Q&A, a little bit of Q&A, so.
Hi, I'm Philip from Macedonia, and I was intrigued by the case of bloggers debunking false information on the internet. Because in Macedonia we also have similar problems, and we set up a project called Media Fact Checking Service, where we first engage reporters in peer reviewing the work of other of the media in order to provide citizens with knowledge about journalism standards and their application. So was there also similar activity or reaction by mainstream media reporters in defense of their standards? Because what we did in Macedonia was basically incited by the work of new media activists. So is there a positive feedback from the traditional or legacy media to the bloggers?
We need a quick answer, quickish answer from the panel.
I think one thing that's nice about correcting information is that if you're the first one to break it, the traditional media just captures news and then tags you as one of the source. So it's good for backlinking and for ranking, but one thing more is it establishes the report of a blogger as a reference to good and right information. But the tasking job there is to collect the information, because in the Philippines it's really hard to collect information. Example, I visited an area and then I gathered information just to get some pictures and brochures, and they required me to send a letter. I gave them a letter because I bring with me a portable printer, and they told me to wait for the PIO for them to be able to give me some pictures and information in soft copies. And I know that it's in their laptop because they're just giving it away, but they're not easily giving it away. That's one thing that's hard. Gathering information, getting the information, getting the right information from the government, from private sectors.
Well, fact-checking is not included in the tradition of Philippine journalism. For example, when the President delivers a SONA, the State of the Nation address, most mainstream media outlets will just report the SONA, the speech, what the congressmen and senators are wearing, what they ate, what time the President arrived, what are the highlights. But the newspapers and TV journalists don't do fact-checking, either real-time or after the speech. So it's a must-have. We hope to have some sort of fact-checking project, maybe, hopefully, in the 2016 elections, because we'll soon have elections for president and for all posts.
Okay, can we do, thank you for the question, and can we do one more question or no? We're done. Okay, we're going to do one more question, and then the panel's going to do a selfie, because we decided that was a must. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Seelan, and I'm from Singapore, and I'm an activist. So I was just listening to, especially to the part about independent journalists or other bloggers and people on social media, and how there's little, ethics or accountability, right? So And that's interesting in our scenario because we have, for 50 years, we have a one-party rule, and we have a mainstream media landscape that is entirely controlled and owned by the state. And so we don't have any independent media. It's illegal. All demonstrations and even giving out flyers are illegal in my country. So you have the internet became the sole place where the citizens get to express themselves. So from that came out two extremes, well, not extremes, but two sides. The blogosphere became two sides. One is a popular website called The Online Citizen, which aims to reach high standards of journalism and fact-checking. And the other side is called The Real Singapore. And that is basically a kind of guerrilla media where anyone can submit whatever they write, whatever their opinions are, and it's published immediately without any censorship or editorializing, and that has led to a lot of there's a lot of problems. But the fact remains that the real Singapore, rather the guerrilla media, remains the true voice of the Singaporeans, and it's 10 times more read and more effective, and the reach is more than The Online Citizen. So as an activist, I'm not the media, right? So I just do the work, and these two sides just report it. My opinion on this, just my reflection on this is that in different countries, the blogosphere just evolves differently, and personally, I don't think we can sort of recommend certain guidelines, like don't be xenophobic or don't be racist or sexist, but at the end of the day, when a population, especially in Asia, when populations have been neutered politically and socially for many decades, I guess since the 50s, you end up with the internet, which gives this sort of free and open space, which inevitably will have all kinds of good and bad things. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that comment. That was very interesting. And so now, I think, no, we're not allowed to have any more Q&A, but you can talk to the panelists afterwards. And now you all have to get towards the middle so that we can do a selfie. Come on, we're going to do it this direction.